Hello guys, we are at the UK Games Expo and I'm here with Peter Hofgaard, the designer of the new upcoming game of CGE, Starship Captains. It looks beautiful, it's still a prototype though, but I'm here with the designer to discuss everything about the game that you wanted to know. It's my personal question to you first of all. So in about a few months, in the last quarter of this year, will be a game with your name on it on the shelves of the stores. How exciting is this for you? And has this been like a long had dream, or did it just sort of happen for you?
So it's super exciting for me. It's like I still can't believe it. It feels surreal. I still expect tomorrow CG will call me and say, "Nah, we're not gonna do the game anyway." It feels very unreal to have like my name at the bottom of a box. It's I would like to say it has always been my dream to make a game, but it hasn't really. It's sort of, I've been reviewing games for a long time, so I've been close to games for a long time, and I have done sort of semi-prototypes and helped other designers and stuff, but I never really had an ambition to design.
Right.
But one day I had this idea of a concept for a game, and it's like, and I really liked, or I do really like sci-fi, and especially Star Trek. So it's like, and I was always told, if you have to do something, you should do something you're passionate about and something you know something about. So it's like, okay, now I have this idea for a game that works in this setting that I'm passionate about. And then it sort of started rolling from there. I made a small prototype, tried it out, and was with my friends and stuff, and people really liked it and were excited about it. So it's sort of started slowly rolling from there, and then eventually it got to where we are now. So it's crazy, right?
It's crazy, I know.
Yeah.
And how many versions have there been of Starship Captains?
I was like, I'm a programmer by trade, so I'm very methodical. So at the beginning, I version numbered everything. So version number 1 and 2, and then I started doing like version 10.2 and stuff like that. Eventually, I think in the end, it was version 42.7 or something. Then we stopped counting because then CD took over, and then so after that, it was like so. But many versions have existed of this game, but the core of it has always been the same. We've as part of the development, we explored like different paths of how to do different things and went back and forth. So it was a lot of work went into something that we eventually went away from, but then we learned something from that and could move it to somewhere. So it was a very interesting process. But I think that if I looked at the original concept of the game, you can still see this game in it. So it's still very similar, like the core of it.
Right. So, Starship Captains, how would you describe this game in a few sentences? Like, what's the core of the game? What do you do?
The core mechanically is you use your crew to take various actions, and this crew you train as you play the game. So you can train them, you can change the colors of them, you can promote them to officers. So very quickly you will get a unique set of crew that can take they can take the basic actions on your ship, but you can also get technology cards that give you new abilities and engine building powers and passive powers and all that Yuri goodness. You know, so it's very much about upgrading and promoting your crew, but also your ship. So it's sort of dual engine building in a way, where the crew building itself is reminiscent to pool and deck building. It's not really, but it sort of was inspired by that, and it has those same things that you don't have access to the same things all the time.
Right.
So it cycles through.
So it's sort of like crew management or crew building, let's say.
Exactly.
Something
Crew
like
building,
that.
crew management,
Yeah.
Crew building is a good word.
Yeah. I have played the game several times, and what I like about it is the flow of it, and in general it's very streamlined. So was it the goal to make it more accessible for new gamers?
Yes.
Okay.
I always knew I like Euros, and I don't like the really heavy, complicated Euros. I like the nice, clean, streamlined, straightforward Euros. But they often feel very abstract because you can streamline something so much down to just the essence of things, and then the theme doesn't matter. So it was a tricky balance to have, because I wanted a thematic Euro. I wanted a Euro that feels thematic.
Right.
And it's an interesting process. The more you streamline it, the the more theme you can lose in the process. So it's this, at least now in the process, it's this push and pull of how complicated do we want to make it to make it thematic. So it's very interesting. But I think right now it's in a very good state. Everything is clean and has icons and effects that are still thematic in the universe. So I think it's a good middle ground now for so it's almost exactly as I imagined. It maybe even better than I imagined.
Right. I also wanted to ask if the art was close to what you imagined.
It was. It was very interesting when we started working on the game. We talked a lot about the style of it, and I was always very adamant about it has to be a sci-fi game, but a lot of sci-fi games today are dark and horror and gritty and aliens and everyone's gonna die, and I don't want that, did not want that, because I don't like those games, and I didn't want to make a game that I like myself. So I wanted it to have this cheerful, colorful, poppiness, because I don't think a lot of sci-fi games don't do that, and I think it's a shame, because you can pull some people in with artwork that you wouldn't be able to pull in otherwise. So it also it seems more charming and accessible, even though the game, if you strip away the theme, it's actually a pretty dry action selection Euro, but it will now seem hopefully more accessible to other people, and just for my own personal selfish reasons, I love games that have like a visual appeal. It's very, for me, it's a big part of sitting down and game, looking at something and having nice looking components. So that was also why I wanted it to have these colorful.
So I'm guessing, like, if you had to pick a number from 1 to 10, how much of a sci-fi fan are you?
There's probably a lot of geekier sci-fi fans out there, but I think I'm probably in the higher numbers. Like sci-fi is such a vast area of things, right? There's so many branches of sci-fi, so it's hard. I'm more into the more easygoing 90s comedy sci-fi almost. So it's also a lot of inspirations for the game. A lot of it is from when I was a kid. I watched Star Trek: The Next Generation, which was at the start of the 90s. So that's sort of what I grew up with and what shaped me. And that had this very positive outlook on humanity in the future. And I really wanted the message of hope for us as a human race to come through the game, in both the colors and the visuals, but also how the game is presented and how you play. That it's not about killing and maiming and destroying. It's about managing your people and getting them to work the best and helping other aliens and factions. So
and they're normal people, like they do their job, going
to work. And you as a captain, you have to take care of them as well as your ship. So I think it actually has a nice the way you score points in the game is also a nice like message, or a message to how you should be as a captain, or live life in general, and should be nice to people and
So we are in the expo hall of UKG, and people are just coming in. And just reminds me to ask you, like, how has been the experience of demoing your game to people here at the convention?
It's been super fun, because of course I demoed it and explained rules to many people, but for a long time now it's been a part of the development team, so it's more been talking about tweaks and changes, and a lot of people that played the game have played it previous, so it's like talking about the difference in versions. So now getting completely fresh eyes that know nothing about the background and why things are the way it is, and don't even know anything about the game necessarily, it's so refreshing to see other people's enthusiasm and when you explain the rules and they get it and can see the fun thematic ties to everything, and the little Easter eggs we put on the illustrations for references to sci-fi shows. People love that, and it's so great, because that's exactly what I wanted. I want people to just look at the cards and be happy and see that the name and effect of some cards makes sense in the universe and stuff. So it's been really great. I've been enjoying. It's been a lot of hard work, but I really enjoyed seeing people enjoy what I created.
Yeah, a lot of people came just for this at the booth. It was very, very exciting. Mm-hmm. Is this the kind of games you like to play?
Yes, I like those light to medium weight Euros, preferably great looking and have a nice theme. And I don't think there's a lot of games that there's a lot of medium to lightweight Euros, but a lot of them are drab looking, or most of the thematic games are very complicated because they have this theme. So I think this is like the kind of game I want to play. So, and also it's very strategic. So it's very not, you can't plan everything ahead. It's very like, it is a Euro, so you don't like have direct interaction, but everything players do will affect your choices and your options. So it's also that kinds of game that I like, where you have to think on your feet and take options when they come up. So I think it would make no sense to design a game I didn't want to play. So so it's very much my wheelhouse.
Do you have any designers that are your favorite? Do you follow the games by designers?
Well, some there are always like Alexander Pfister. I think is very interesting. Not actually his heavy games. He does a lot of light games too, and he's very focused on putting narrative into games, and I think that's very interesting. Narrative into Euro games. It's also something like I want to do. Ryan Lockett, that does insanely beautiful artwork and story, and so he has this whole package. And I don't like all his games, but I like how well forged they are together, and because again he does everything, so he can tie everything together. I think that creates like a very immersive experience, and it's also something like that I wanted to do in this game. So I also like Bruno Cathala. He does very streamlined, very simple concepts, but they're very fun. So it's designers like that. But I'm not a designer snob. I don't go only for specific designers, but they're the designers I always pay attention to when new games come out.
And for our last question, it's a question I always ask designers. Now that you have started like being in this field, what would you say would be the most useful superpower for a game designer to have?
It's a very good question.
Off the top of your head, like your instinct.
I think probably empathy. Because like, at least for me, when I play a game, just a regular game with people, it's the game is fine, but I care about the experience with people with the game. So it's more what feelings that the game evoke, the mechanics and the visuals, what feelings they evoke in people. Like having an ability to be able to control or see that more clearly, that really helps. Because I think in the end, when you strip a game away from rules and everything, it's the feeling you have afterwards. Like, oh, that game was fun, or I enjoyed that, I want to play that. So like that's the essence of the game, I think, for me. So and I think empathy, knowing how people, or understanding how people react to
give feedback.
Exactly.
As well.
I think that's
a good one. Okay. Thank you very much, Peter, for your time.
Pleasure.
And we're all waiting to see the final version of Starship Captains. So stay tuned, and I'll see you guys in the next video.